Hello, I'm Rachael Plant and I talk about attachment parenting and what I wish I had known but nobody told me. So today I'm going to talk about baby-led weaning, which is different to conventional weaning, which is where you mush up some vegetables or fruit and feed it to your baby on a spoon. So baby-led weaning is led by your baby. If your baby is taking an interest in food when they're sat at the table with you in their high chair or sat on your knee, then it's absolutely fine for them to start to explore that food with their hands, with their mouth, putting it in their mouth, exploring the tastes, investigating the flavours and the textures. And so there are certain rules about introducing foods at certain ages and certain points. But do you know what? Do you know what I always think with all of this stuff, with all of the attachment parenting? I think, well, what would our ancestors have done? So would our ancestors have been chopping up and preparing special little dishes for their babies? I don't think they would have been doing that. They would have been primarily breastfeeding their babies until they were toddlers, preschoolers. I think between 5 and 7 is the average age if breastfeeding goes full term. So they would still have been breastfeeding, but they would have mainly been getting their nutrition through milk. But they, when they got some food, when they got some vegetables or fruit, or they got some meat or fish, they would probably have been given a little bit of it to their baby once they got a bit older, or their baby would have naturally been reaching out to take a bit of the food from their parent. So I feel that as long as the food is unprocessed, I think that's really important. If it is in its natural state, if it is meat or fish or vegetables or dairy to an extent, then I think that is I think it's really fine for your baby to be exploring any of those kinds of foods alongside you, as part of the family, not being fed in a separate way. Just kind of joining in, and food being for fun. My daughter didn't really eat any solid food till well past the 12 months mark. And I did kind of get a bit anxious at first. I was at that point still listening to health visitors, and from memory, I think it was like by 6 months they should be eating 3 meals a day, or was that 9 months? Anyway, there were certain milestones that they should have been reaching. And when I introduced food, it was like she still has a really, really small appetite even today. She eats like a little bird, and she grazes. She eats little and often, and she eats when she feels the need to, and she eats what she feels like she feels eating at that point. So often she'll have like rice or pasta for breakfast. There are no, we don't have any rules really around food in our house. Try and keep sugar and processed food to a minimum, but yeah, we kind of eat when we feel hungry. So she was surviving on milk right up until 12 months and beyond. That was how she was getting her nutrition, was from the milk. So it was very much, she was just I was giving her what I was eating. I was giving her bits of cucumber, bits of cooked carrot, and she would be having a little munch of it. It would mainly kind of go all over her face and all over the floor and all over the high chair, and that was fine. It really was just about being curious and finding out what food was all about, and not worrying too much about getting the nutrition into them, trusting that they would that she would know when she needed food. She would her body would tell her, her system had an intelligence that would promote her seeking food, basically, and that's been fine. And she's grown up healthy. She's very, very rarely ill. She's got a bit of a cold at the moment, but you know, she recovers really quickly. And yeah, she had chickenpox when she was 6 months old. She was barely ill with that, and other than that, she's only had colds, which she gets very infrequently. So I trust that her body knows what it's doing. She always has loads of energy. I trust that she is getting the nutrition that she needs. Now, of course, we do need to be careful in our society. Our food is a lot less nutritious than it should be. There is a lot of crap that is on the supermarket shelves. So obviously we do need to be cautious and, you know, have an awareness around what we are encouraging our children to put into their bodies, and ourselves, of course. And also, you know, if your baby, you know, there's a common sense around the baby-led weaning. You know, how do they react to it? You know, if they have a reaction to it, then it's possibly a good idea not to let them have that for a while. Maybe their system isn't quite ready for that. I can remember my daughter actually having a bit of a reaction to sweet potato. She came up with a bit of a rash at first, and then I gave it her again a couple of weeks later, and it was fine. So, you know, it's kind of like with all attachment parenting, being in tune with what you know, how your baby is responding to things, how their body is responding to things, and, you know, using common sense and caution, but not being overly, you know, not overthinking it, not being overly rigid with it and following rigid rules. That's how I've done it. That's how it's worked for us. So yeah, that's baby-led weaning.